If you find yourself feeling stressed with finances, it might be because you are feeling overwhelmed with not knowing exactly what is happening. When we spend without knowing that the money's even there, we're going to feel the burden and the stress of all of the unknowns. So, will we have money for the electric bill? How am I going to pay for insurance next month? How much have we spent on groceries lately? Will my card decline? That's a big one. And how embarrassing, right? So, when we can get out of the unknowns and shift from money stress to being confident with money, it can be a total game changer.
Are you ready to stop the chaos, the stress, the overwhelm that's filling your life? I'm Renee Matt, and together you and I are going to build simple routines that are going to change your life. When you put these habits into practice, you're going to be able to organize your life in a way where you can be there for your family, pay off your debt, save money, your house can stay organized, you don't have to stress about what's for dinner, and you still get time for yourself. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to the Routine Advantage Podcast.
I very vividly remember the days when we did not have enough money and we didn't have a plan for our money, and everything just felt chaotic. And it was very overwhelming because we didn't understand our plan. And we didn't have that plan written out because we had no budget routine whatsoever. We had talked to people and we had heard about budgets, and they felt very overwhelming. We didn't feel like we had enough money to budget. It just felt really useless for us for a long time. And a lot of that was out of fear. But there's also the fear of the unknown when you don't have a plan. So when you are looking at this overwhelming stress when it comes to money and finances, it applies to so many of us, and it can be a really big burden on relationships. So, not only are you dealing with the stress of the money and the unknowns there, but then you're probably also dealing with the stress of your partner, and your partner probably is stressed as well, and it can create some tension between you. So there are so many reasons to make sure that you are understanding where your money is, what you're doing with it, if you're spending it well, and having that plan so you know exactly how much money you have at all times, or at least most times, and you understand where it's going and what your goals are, because that is what is going to give you the peace of mind to be more confident when it comes to spending things, because you've already planned ahead for that. So, I want to go through just three things that I think help a ton when it comes to getting rid of the stress and building more confidence around money. So, number one is to know your numbers. This one is huge. I already kind of talked about it a little bit because of the unknowns, but you need to know what your income is. You need to know what you're spending and where your money is going, because that is a big factor in the money stress, is we are probably spending more than we realize in a lot of areas. You need to know what your set expenses are. You need to know like what your mortgage is and what your electric bill is and what your grocery bill is. And you need to know the set expenses on what has to be paid versus the discretionary expenses where you are paying for those because you're choosing to pay for those, like your streaming services and your dates and social life, things like that, where you don't have a set expense. It's not a bill that is due that has to be paid in order to keep living your life. It's something that you're choosing to spend money on. So you still need to know those numbers, because if you need to make any adjustments, then that is probably something that you're going to take into consideration on where to cut or adjust, even if it's for a short period of time. So you just need to know your numbers, because without knowing your numbers, you do not know exactly where you can make adjustments for the best possible outcome for you. Number two is you need to have a plan. And this is where your budget comes into play, and your budget routine, because they play off each other. Your budget is your actual plan for your finances, and your budget routine will help to keep you up to date with that plan and keep you on track moving forward through the long term. But with your budget, what you're really looking at is having a plan on how to spend your money. So now that you know your numbers, you are going to pull those numbers and create a plan to know exactly how much you're bringing in, or at least a minimum amount so that you can plan for the minimum. And if you make anything beyond that, then you can adjust and have a plan for that money as well. But with the minimum that you're bringing in, you need to create a plan for that. Where is that money going to go? And you need to draft it all out onto paper or in an app or in a spreadsheet or whatever you're trying to track it all in. But you need to create a plan because that is where you're going to be able to shift things around and manipulate the numbers in order to create a solid plan that fits within your income because we can't be spending more than we're making because that's just creating more debt, which is going to cause more stress. So we have to have a budget in place and have a plan in place on where we're choosing to spend that money because that is what a budget is. It's not somebody else telling you where you have to put your money, but you get to create your own plan. And a budget is actually very freeing when you start doing this because it gives you permission to spend money when you have a plan to spend it. So if you are plugging money away for dates and social life for that month and you have a set amount, when you go out for your date, you don't have to stress about if this is taking money away from groceries or the electric bill or wherever else your money is going to be spent that month because you know that you have a designated amount for your dates and social life and you can just go straight into your date and you can have fun, enjoy yourself, knowing that the money has already been planned and you are free to spend that money because you've already put it into your budget and prepared for it, and it's not going to throw off the rest of your goals. So that one is huge. And if you need help, like breaking this down, you need a spot to put your budget. I am having a course coming out that has a spreadsheet that we use. My husband and I have been using this for years. We built it based on what we were needing, and it is a whole budget system in there that is absolutely amazing. It works really, really well for us. And you can get on the wait list for the course at reneematt.com, and you can just sign up for the wait list if you're interested in something like that or learning more about how to put the budget routine in place. But then we're going to number 3, and the third thing that I think you need to focus on is to create goals. So not only is it a goal to stick to your budget for the month, and no month is perfect, I will tell you that right now, that so if you start budgeting and you are not hitting all of your goals or you shift things throughout the month, don't feel like you're failing anything because that is pretty normal. So you just want to keep learning from everything that's happening and keep learning as you go. And that's just going to get you better and better in understanding how your finances work for your life and where you can make adjustments and what kind of habits you need to adjust and tweak and modify to be able to actually start making more progress. But the goals that you need to have in addition to just sticking to your budget is having things like an emergency fund goal to be able to save that money and set it aside so all of your stress for any emergency that is going to arise can be taken care of and you don't have to be constantly worried about if somebody has to go to the doctor or if you end up in a car accident or you end up without work for a little while, you have money set aside specifically for situations like that that are going to give you some peace of mind to be able to say, you know, this is an inconvenience, but we're going to be okay. And that is a huge weight off of your shoulders to be able to have that emergency fund set aside. So that is a great goal to have with your money. Another one might be a debt payoff plan. If you have, you know, student loans or credit card debt or car payments or even your mortgage, things like that that are building up that are stressful because you owe money to other people, then this is a great goal to have to be able to actually work at paying off that debt and paying it off as quickly as possible so that all of that money then turns around and you can pay it to yourself and start building your savings or sinking funds or retirement or whatever else that you are wanting to put your money towards. You're not paying off debt anymore once it's gone. You can take all of that money that was going to debt and now you are building your own savings goals where you kind of become your own bank in a way where you don't have to borrow against debt. You can borrow from yourself because you have that money set aside for different things. So it's a really cool feeling when you can get to that point, but we can't get to this point very easily until we actually build the plan and start making progress with our budget. Some other ideas for goals might be building those sinking funds for maybe a vacation or a new car or even just Christmas shopping. Like that is a sinking fund that my husband and I have every year. We build a goal and start saving all year long so that when it comes time to Christmas shop, we've just been plunking a little money away each month. So it's not this big expense at the end of the year when we do our Christmas shopping and go get more Christmas decorations or do any activities around Christmas time. It's already built into our budget, and it doesn't affect our finances like it has in the past because we weren't planning for it before, but the last several years we have, and it has made such a big difference. Another one is going to be your retirement savings goals. That's a huge goal to have, but we need to be confident on where our money is to know that we're going to be secure in the future. So, having your budget in place to start and then creating your goals is going to make a big difference in helping you to feel more prepared, which is going to help you reduce the stress and feel more confident with your money in every situation here. So if you need help with setting up a budget, like you're starting from scratch, you don't know where to start, I do have some beginning episodes on your budget routine. Now, this is not a finance podcast. And if you've looked at any of the other titles, if you're new here, you're going to realize like this is not a finance podcast. I'm not going to give you, investment advice or anything like that. We talk about routines here because when we can build routines into our life, we can go from overwhelmed to organized. And that is what is going to help relieve that stress. So, when we are talking about routines, I talk about five foundational routines that I think apply to everyone. And it's really important to have these five basic foundational routines in place to help you feel more organized instead of overwhelmed. And the fifth routine in those five foundational routines is your budget routine. So that is why I'm talking about your budget, even though it's not technically a finance podcast. But if you want to go back to those episodes, I have a bunch of episodes that relate to your budget routine. But a few of them that will really help you if you're just getting started is episode number 7. And this is going to help you actually stop and build your base budget. So that's really getting into the nitty gritty of getting your numbers down and creating that plan. And then you want to actually go to episode 16, which is now that you've created your base budget, what to do with it. And that's where you go into actually tracking your expenses and understanding how to execute the plan that you have created for yourself with your base budget. And then episode 68 is 8 simple steps for your budget routine every payday. So you create your base budget, you create your plan, get all your numbers in, organize where you want to spend your money, and then you go in and you start tracking and understand how to keep track of your progress and all of that stuff. And then you go into actually having a plan for your payday, which is all part of your budget routine. So if you are feeling stressed with your finances, I pray that you take some time and you, even if it's not my advice, take somebody's advice to be able to sit down and understand your finances because you need to, number one, know your numbers. You need to know what you're bringing in and what you are spending because it's really hard to make adjustments if we don't know what we are currently doing with our money. And then number two, you need to create a plan. This is where you are creating your base budget and making those edits and adjustments to understand where you are wanting your money to go and what your set bills are and what you're choosing to put your money towards in all the other categories. And then number three, you need to create goals, whether it is just sticking to your monthly budget or maybe it is building an emergency fund or a debt payoff plan or building sinking funds for vacation or Christmas or building up your retirement savings, anything like that, you want to have goals in place because that's going to give you more incentive to stick to your budget and work towards your goals. And it's just going to build your confidence in this area. And you are going to absolutely love your budget routine because it's going to give you such peace of mind. And that is how you can shift from feeling stressed with your money to feeling confident with your money.
Did you love that episode or learn something useful? If so, would you do me a huge favor? My goal is to grow this podcast and help as many women as I can break free from the overwhelm so they can truly enjoy their life. The best way for me to do this is for you to leave a 5-star written review on your podcast app and to share this episode with a friend or in your Instagram stories. I appreciate you being here. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you on the next episode. Take care.